Hey, I'm Clary. I've heard about Dave Ruben a lot. Seems like a fun guy. I watched a video about him on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it seems like, well, I was he the guy that was arguing for like having no restrictions or like having no like building codes or whatever, so you can just build however the fuck you want. Yeah, he seems interesting. So, also before I get started with this, I was wondering about Brett Weinstein. I'm pretty sure he's that professor that got fucking booted out of some college. There we go. Yeah, I think he was the guy. There was like a fucking like the college every year would do like a no black people day or some shit where like all the black students would fucking leave and people got to see what it'd be like without them. And then they tried to flip it and do like a no white people day, and I think he lost his shit and started talking about evolutionary biology when it comes to like race and the differences. It was something like that. Author and former professor of evolutionary biology. Yeah, he served on the faculty of Evergreen State College from 2002 until 2017 when he resigned in the aftermath of a series of campus protests about racial equity. It seemed like it. Yeah, this was the guy. Evergreen State College day of absence. Yeah, ethnic minority students and faculty would voluntarily stay away from campus to highlight their contributions to the college. I mean, yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I mean, it's a way of getting across a point. Group or coalition deciding to voluntarily absent themselves from a shared space to highlight their vital and underappreciated roles, and the group encouraging another group to go away. The first is a forceful call to consciousness, which is, of course, crippling to the logic of oppression. The second is a show of force and an act of oppression in and of itself. Were they actually forcing, like, white people to fucking stay away from the college? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I think it was something along those lines. And I don't think he got fired, but I think they came. He made a deal with the college, and he ended up resigning. But yeah, I've never heard this guy speak before, so I guess let's see what he's got to say.
We embrace stuff because we see some problem that's galling to us and we want to solve it, right? That's the progressive instinct. And so we tear apart some rule that seems antiquated to us, and we notice that, we've liberated ourselves in some way. And then 20 years later, 30 years later, we discover, holy crap, we liberated ourselves in this way, and then we constrained ourselves in some other way, and we have to do a net analysis, and that the carnage is tremendous if you did that. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's just kind of inevitable. Like there are always going to be repercussions to a change, right? There's always going to be the goods and the bads. I don't think that necessarily means we shouldn't try to keep progressing, though.
If you did it one thing at a time, it would be bad enough, right? The needless losses of doing it that way would be intolerable.
Yeah, we'd get nowhere.
When you do it,
we can push for multiple things.
Right, we're doing it this way now instead of occasionally kind of moving up the ladder or something.
We are revolutionizing our civilization each decade, which means you don't get time to even figure out what the consequences of the last change you made are before you're somehow on to some next monumental change.
But I don't necessarily think that's like a progressive's fault. That's more of like the fall of like technology, isn't it? And how like interconnected everything is. Plus, I mean, the more advanced we become, the faster we advance because of the past advancements. I think it seems to be just kind of how things are going. I don't have much to say about that. It's just kind of a consequence of advancement is faster advancement.
What does that tell you about the evolutionary process of the forces that have led us here on the negative side? So if the forces on the positive side and the ideas of classical liberalism, let's say, and the things that have been good for the last 250 years, if those are pretty good but clearly faltering, what does it tell you about the bad ideas that somehow got into the system?
There are a couple of concepts maybe I'll step back 1 second. What we teach people, even before the academy went completely insane, the set of things that we would teach somebody on the way to graduating from college was pretty arbitrary. It was not the set of things that you would really want to have on board in order to live a life in which you were empowered to do meaningful things.
Okay, so people say this all the time when it comes to education, that like the majority of it you're never gonna fucking use, you're never gonna think about it again. I think it's important to give people a general overview of how like certain parts of the world work. I think that's very important. It creates a more well-rounded individual that can kind of think in different terms, different contexts easier, right? They're able to navigate those things in the future if they need to or they want to a lot easier. I think there's a lot of value in like a lot like that stuff beyond like basic math. Like a lot of people will criticize like, what do we really need to know this shit? I think it's good to have that sort of established. Like I think it's good to be able to think in those terms. And there's that too. You never really know what you're going to need down the line. So it's like, I think it's best to be well-rounded when it comes to your education.
It was just sort of some set of things that people had taught in the past and seemed like they were still useful.
Are you saying lesbian badminton 201 isn't?
No, I mean even really almost everything. You know, we don't teach the right geology, frankly, in order to understand what kind of a planet you live on. The biology we teach is not focused on the things that actually allow you to figure out how to evaluate claims about a medication or a food, or
Well, sure. I feel like, okay, evaluating claims when it comes to like medication and food, I feel like that's more like consumer health or something like that. That'd be a different subject entirely. But it's still, I would still say it's probably useful to know like just some basic stuff about biology in order to like help you navigate, those later subjects like consumer health or whatever. I don't really know what the fuck. Hold on. I'm going to back up for a second. I just got done with a jog. All right. So my brain, it's a little foggy. I'm going to fucking blame it on that.
Almost everything, we don't teach the right geology, frankly, in order to understand what kind of a planet you live on. The biology we teach is not focused on the things that actually allow you to figure out how to evaluate claims about a medication or a food, or we are teaching.
Yeah, I would say maybe you could advocate for like a wider net when it comes to education, or introducing more like practical classes. People seem to get along just fine without that though. Well, especially like when it comes to like medication and food and stuff. We have the FDA watching out for us, right? So I mean, as long as we have organizations that we're fairly certain we can rely on, then it doesn't seem like it's the biggest issue in the world. The system we have right now seems to be working okay. I mean, it's not to say we shouldn't improve. We should always try to improve, but
an arbitrary curriculum, and it's now it's turned into a toxic curriculum. But arbitrary wasn't very good, and so one of the things that
do you think that was arbitrary, or do you think that was by design? I mean, when all the liberal arts colleges started teaching all of this nonsense instead of teaching, I don't know, say either better at STEM subjects or financial literacy, let's say.
Yeah.
Liberal arts colleges are specifically like for those sorts of subjects, though, right? Wait, hold. I don't actually know. Academic subjects such as literature, philosophy, mathematics, and social and physical sciences. As distinct from professional and technical subjects. Oh no, I might be stupid. Hold on. Liberal arts education is the traditional academic course in Western higher education. Okay. Got it. Okay. I always thought liberal arts, because I always hear about it in this fucking context where people are like absolutely shitting on it and saying it's fucking pointless. Okay. I had a completely different idea what liberal arts meant. Hold on.
Learned in high school, and then they get to either better at STEM subjects or financial literacy instead of teaching, I don't know, say either better at STEM subjects or
Fuck.
Do you think that was arbitrary, or do you think that was by design? I mean, when all the liberal arts colleges started teaching all of this nonsense instead of teaching, I don't know, say either better at STEM subjects or financial literacy, let's say.
Well, can't they teach all of it? Why do they have to focus like specifically on STEM? Why not just like offer all those courses. I don't get it.
which nobody learned in high school.
And once again, like when it comes to what people typically think of as the useless subjects, like fucking, the actual arts, not fucking liberal arts. Arts are like, the soft sciences. There's still there's a lot of value in that. There's value in art. There obviously is. We fucking take in art every single fucking day of our lives. It obviously makes our lives better. It's going to depend on the individual when it comes to what kind of art improves your life in what kind of way. But we can all pretty much generally agree that art is important to an extent. So I don't see why it's bad to teach those sorts of things. And psychology, even though I know when it comes to psychology, sociology, I don't understand fully all the issues people have with it. I think those subjects still have something to offer. Yeah.
And they get to college and then they don't even teach it. Do you think, is that arbitrary or is that intentional?
The last chapter clearly involves a whole hell of a lot of sabotage, and frankly, the folks who invented postmodernism were pretty straightforward about the fact that they were interested in sabotage, so it shouldn't surprise us. But I mean, even before that, we were dealing with a chaotic collection of ideas that weren't we left a lot of value on the table for no good reason. And so one thing I would do is I would look at certain concepts that are just disproportionately important. I didn't learn about Chesterton's fence until, I don't know, 2016, maybe even later, right? Chesterton's fence is an incredibly important principle. The precautionary principle is incredibly important.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of important pieces of information. There's a shit ton of important fucking knowledge out there, even for everyday purposes. But there's just so much to teach somebody. There's so much that one person should know about the world. It obviously things are going to be missed. People's education is never going to be perfect. I don't know. I don't know what does he have in his head this perfect idea of what education should be, like course to course, fucking lesson to lesson, exactly what everybody should be taught. And also it's going to depend on the individual too, and it's going to depend on the course of their life, which you can't know beforehand. So I don't get it.
The relevance that these things have to the battle between, and I don't even want to say battle, the tension between conservatism and progressivism, which is a natural tension. I think if you kill either of those things off, you end up in one disaster or another.
Yeah, I agree with that. There should be checks. I mean, of course, it's good to keep pushing for better, but there needs to be some sort of balance between preserving the good things we have and pursuing better, right?
So understanding that just because you don't know why something that we do is there, doesn't mean it's actually pointless.
And I agree with that too. Yeah. There was someone fucking ran through the analogy of fucking table manners to explain this, right? It doesn't really matter if you have your elbows on the table. It doesn't really matter if you fucking chew with your mouthful. Those things, they are kind of fucking arbitrary. It doesn't really matter, but it does tell the people around you a lot about you. So if you go over to somebody else's house and they're pretty strict about not having your elbows on the table and not chewing, fucking speaking or chewing with your mouth full of food or whatever, and you disregard those things, it kind of shows them that, okay, maybe you're willing to kind of break some social boundaries, some social rules. Maybe you're not super trustworthy. Maybe you're not willing to play the game with us or be cooperative with us, right?
And you damn well...
Oh, sorry, yeah, to sum that up, things that seem pointless can a lot of the times have some pretty important points to them. I think that's true.
Well, better keep track of what happens. If you decide something like the rules of interaction between the sexes, if you think, oh, that's just, it's prudishness, it's oppressive, it's, whatever force you want to attribute it to, and we're wiser than that. We know we're just primates, and let's just get over it and stop pretending sex is something other than it is. Okay, there's not that there's no truth in that. There is some truth in it, but
I saw war. I
saw water. I saw the bombing. Oh, I should make fun of this. Fuck.
when you get rid of all those rules, you invite a whole lot of chaos that you didn't anticipate. And it is incumbent on you at least to track the consequences of the change and see how they match with what you thought was going to happen.
Yeah. Try to reduce like the the bad shit that comes from like change. Well, I feel like that's like what we try to do with society as a whole, right? We try to find new good things, and of course, bad things are going to be brought along with those good things, and we try to maximize for the good and minimize the bad, right? But I don't, just because there are bad things that come along with progressing, advancing, doesn't mean we shouldn't advance. You know what I mean? Nothing's perfect. Or like, fucking Michael Crichton is an amazing author. He's fucking awesome. He wrote, I think, where he talked about fucking like, oh my god, hold on, I gotta think about this. It wasn't Prey. It wasn't Prey. It was Next. He was talking about I can't think of the fucking word. Tinkering with biology, you know, like fucking dude, I can't think of the fucking word. Like CRISPR shit, basically. Being able to like alter like living creatures like to a pretty fucking insane extent, right? And he talked about how there's a lot of good that can come from that, but there's also like, I mean, put into the wrong hands, a lot of fucking bad things can come out of that. Obviously, I mean, like just off the top of my head, engineering a super deadly fucking virus or something like that. That would obviously be really bad. But like with global warming and shit coming around the corner, like creating crops that are more like drought resistant, that can grow in like pretty not so rich soil. Those things. Well, and then, engineering them to have like a higher yield overall. Those are really good things that can come out of bioengineering. There we go. Oh my God. That's it. Bioengineering. I fucking did it. I remembered. But yeah, I would say we should try to, we as a people need to vote on people that will, hopefully pass policies, fucking, just do the government thing, and hopefully we get, restrictions where we need restrictions in these areas, to, once again, maximize the good and minimize the bad.
If we had done that, right, if we were comparing the world of 2023 with the world of 1960, we could say, oh, there are some things that are quite a bit better. And then there are a whole bunch of things that are a whole lot worse. And we could start looking at cause and effect and say, actually, we could get the best of both of those worlds without paying the huge price we do by, drawing a line here.
Wait, what would he say was so much better about 1960 than 2023? I'm trying to think. Maybe in inflation, I guess that's one thing. Just easier to fucking find your way in the world, money wise. I'm trying to think of what else. I feel like the world is pretty fucking solid nowadays, right? We do. There are a lot of problems. Still, of course. Well, and technology has been fantastic when it comes to raising our standard of living, and communication, and all that. And the different opportunities that have come about for making money, doing YouTube and shit. But of course, the social media shit, that scares me a lot. The fact that they are just trying to keep you on the screen for as long as possible. I hate that. And yeah, I've fallen prey to that. Yeah, that shit is disturbing. But once again, technology, the internet offers a lot, so we should try to. But I wonder what else. We live in a super peaceful time. When it comes to global conflicts, there isn't really much going on. Everybody has a lot to fucking lose economically, because we're also fucking interconnected. The world is pretty fucking good right now. And of course, I feel hold on. Can't think of fucking words right now, but okay. How long did people live in 1960 USA? Lived at 66, females 73. Okay, then I guess 2020. Okay, well that's okay. So yeah, wait, 2019. So no, we even live longer nowadays. Things are getting better. Well, things have gotten a lot better since 1960. I would say. I wonder, maybe he'll go into it more.
Is the inherent problem with that is that that's just not how humans organize or actually respond to things. So, for example, you could say, like, gay marriage to me was obviously a completely just mission in that it was equality for people.
Oh, right. That fucking blew my mind. I was like hardcore fucking generalizing Dave Rubin. I did not realize he was gay. I didn't fucking realize it. I guess I looked at him and was like, oh, fucking conservative couldn't be gay. I must have fucking done that shit.
To live the way they wish. There probably should have been a discussion around it, okay, well, what's going to come after this then? And now this radical trans thing, which has nothing to do with equality and now is an assault on science and biology and blah, blah.
Okay, that was a lot. He just threw a lot out there. Wow. A lot of people made those same fucking criticisms of, like, gay people, right? Like, it's an affront to God, you know, like, we're designed to, you know, like, for men and women to fucking, you know, like, to have sex, to procreate, to keep the humans flowing. What? And no, okay, so my understanding when it comes to transness and all that is gender dysmorphia seems to be a real thing that a pretty small amount of people experience, right? It's like, I think like definitely less than 1% of Americans are trans, right? Fuck, I want to look this up too. USA, how many trans? Oh no, don't make me do a lot of reading, please. I can't do it today. I can't. Oh, well, that was simple. Okay, 1.6 million. Oh, hold on. Well, we got like 330 million, right? Oh my God, 1.6 million, right? Yeah, wait, yes, I did do that right. I did? Yes, I did. Oh, no. Oh, my God. I got it backwards. Oh, my God. Look away. Fucking look away. I can do numbers. I swear I can. Okay. Divided by 330. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, shit. There are not many trans people. If this is right, when... 2022. Okay. And it's 1.6 million. Yeah, that is a tiny amount. Well, I guess, wait, I feel like, did I actually do this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 600. Yeah. Okay, and 330 million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 330 million. Okay, so, wow. Yeah, like, okay, yeah, like half, yeah, so like 0.5% of fucking Americans are considered trans. That's, yeah, a tiny amount. Okay, so very tiny amount of the population suffers from gender dysmorphia. They feel that they are the opposite gender or whatever. I guess they're non-binary people too. We'll just talk about fucking like trans men and trans women. And they just want to transition into that social role. They do want to change their bodies to help out with that process, of course. But it's not like, I mean, it is unnatural in the sense that, like, I mean, like, humans obviously are designed to, like, fucking go from one gender to another like that. Like, physically. I know mentally they've always been whatever gender. But it's not like they deny science, or at least hopefully the majority of trans people don't think like, oh yes, biologically I am like, you know, fucking male or female, even if they're, you know, the other one or whatever. Typically, from my understanding, when we're talking about trans stuff, it's mainly about like gender roles, not like, oh, like, you know, it might seem like I have XY chromosomes, but really I have XX. They're not doing that sort of shit. So I don't know.
That there should have, you're basically asking for, well, can there be like a post-mortem on the good things so we don't let in the bad things? But it's almost just not how humans operate, right? We just look then for the next thing. And that, I guess, is the problem.
You're right. This is exactly how we do things.
I get one a show.
No, you're right on target. But no.
Wait, so you're saying in our society, when we make like progress, we just ignore all the bad parts of like the bad things that come from it? I don't think that's really what we do. I'm trying to think of like, hold on. I gotta think about that for a second. And we just fucking move on without addressing any of the negative consequences, huh? I'm trying to fucking. Okay, like when it comes to genderism or whatever, there have been some. Well, it's not really negative consequences. I'm trying to think of examples of like a time where like we've fucking made like massive progress in a certain area and then we just didn't address any of the fucking like fallout. I can't. I don't know.
Notice this. We embrace stuff because we see some problem that's galling to us and we want to solve it, right? That's the progressive instinct. And so we tear apart some rule that seems antiquated to us and we notice that, yeah, we've liberated ourselves in some way. And then 20 years later, 30 years later, we discover, holy crap, we liberated ourselves in this way, and then we constrained ourselves in some other way.
I mean, that's, once again, the price of progress. And then we try to get rid of those constraints that we added on from making the progress of the previous thing, right? Like, yeah, make the progress and then just try to minimize the fucking, like, damage. Yeah.
And we have to do a net analysis, and that the carnage is tremendous if you did that. Mm-hmm. If you did it one thing at a time, it would be bad enough. Right, the needless losses of doing it that way would be intolerable, in my opinion. But when you do it on every
we're doing it this way now instead of occasionally kind of moving up the ladder or something.
We are revolutionizing our civilization each decade, which means you don't get time to even figure out what the consequences of the last change you made are before you're somehow onto some next monumental change. There is no, anybody who has gotten good at, let's say, making a car run knows you can't do this, right? If you have a problem with a car, it's not running, right? You change one thing at a time and you figure out which thing causes it suddenly to run. Now you know what the problem is, you know what to do. If you say, well, the car doesn't run, it could be the starter.
I feel like this is a really bad analogy. I would liken it more to like driving a car. And like slowly learning how to get better at driving, I guess. I feel like that's a better analogy. So like, okay, the U.S. is it's a functional car. We are driving it down the road, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a little like, it's weird, right? It kind of like drifts to the left or whatever. There's a fucking dead spot for the gas pedal. And you slowly figure these things out over time and get better and better at driving, right? Or with the U.S., we get better and better at like giving people the best life and the most amount of opportunity that we can.
It could be the alternator, it could be the battery, it could be the wiring harnesses, and you change them all and it still doesn't run. You don't know that you didn't change the thing that was broken and introduce another thing that wasn't working, and that it's now not running for a whole.
No, once again, like in the U.S., wait, don't we call it just like a civilization as it stands today, like just like the grand experiment or whatever? No one knows like how to do this because it's never really been done before, not on the scale anyway. So we're just trying to keep things going while yes, making those improvements as we go. Should we just like? Was he suggesting, like, okay, when it comes to his analogy, should we somehow just, like, completely stop with anything political and just kind of, like, tinker with it? Like, I don't get it. I feel like it's a really fucking bad analogy.
New reason, right? You can't do it that way. So one of the lessons here is the rebellion into conservatism is largely right because we've done a lot of foolish things and we've done it too fast and too many of them. But it cannot be allowed to silence the progressive instinct because the way we got here is through progressivism.
If you're looking...
Once again, if we got here through progressivism, I would say progressivism did us all a pretty fucking huge favor because, standards of living, people's lives just in general, across the fucking globe, have, pretty much never been fucking better. Like, this is a pretty unprecedented time in human history. And same for the U.S. I'm trying to... yeah, things are really good for the U.S., right? I don't know, dude. I don't fucking know. I think that we should keep pushing for those fucking improvements. We should, keep pushing, try to maximize the good and minimize the bad. Of course, there are going to be consequences for any change you make, but I don't think that's a reason to not make those changes. Some caution is, of course, a good thing, but at the same time, we shouldn't let dickheads like this try to slow down progress just because they're fucking, well, they have some interesting ideas about the world. Like the trans comment was fucking, I'm not really sure how to handle it, especially coming from a gay guy, because a lot of the arguments that are being thrown against trans people nowadays were used against gay people. So it's just interesting to me. But anyways, that's it. All right. Love you. Bye-bye.